How often do you lose a duel and wonder, was it a bad luck or was it a misplay? Today's video is designed to help you answer that once and for all. We'll look at my own misplays and you'll learn how to navigate difficult matchups and play through hand traps. I was really happy for once because I didn't brick, so I thought that this match would be really easy. But my opponent said no, you will not have fun while I'm around, and they activate Maxi. And due to that, my entire excitement has just vanished. But still, I'm going to do some couple of combos. First I normal summon Stratos and search for another Stratos. Now I Spatial Summon Miracle Ejector. I know that my opponent is going to draw a card, but since we have Draw Luckbird, we can actually use it for our advantage this time. But the moment I chain Draw Luckbird, my opponent answers with a K9 monster, which is Uzuna, as you know. Now, I cannot add any more cards from my deck, and my opponent has just summoned their Lupis to their field. They are waiting for the right moment to Xyz summon and stop my plays. I Spatial Summon another copy of Stratos because, you know, earlier we have Search Fountain. Now I'm just trying to bait my opponent here and summon something so that he thinks that this is an important card, so I should get rid of it because I have a follow-up plan. Now, as expected, he went for Vallon and he sets my card, but that was the bait. I have an alternative play, which is Ferris. I'm just going to send Fountain to the graveyard as a cost and Spatial Summon him. And with the help of Ferris effect, I can also resolve Fountain's effect so that we can search for Mass Change. That means we can access to our Dark Load. Now I go for Verta Anaconda, and I was sure that my opponent doesn't have any more interruptions. But the moment that I summon Verta Anaconda, my opponent has just activated Kewl Click from their hand. I was quite confused here because when you look at our opponent's field, they have this K9 field art, and they have already played a K9 monster at the start, so I wasn't expecting that he was also playing Kewl. And this is a huge problem because he resolved Reko, which means he's going to get rid of Mass Change and I won't be able to Spatial Summon Darklow. And also, I cannot resolve Verta Anaconda anymore because he has Kewl RS in his field, so that means he's just going to negate Verta Anaconda's effect. As you can see, I cannot do anything else at this moment. First, he has played Maxi, and then I draw Luckbird myself on purpose so that he doesn't draw so many cards from his deck, and then he used his K9 play in order to stop my plays, and as you can see, he's just going to do a full combo and finish me off, so that's why I surrender right here. Now the question that we should ask ourselves is, did I lose because my opponent were lucky to draw Maxi, or did I misplay in any of my plays? The problem of this duel for me was reading my opponent's deck. I was really certain that he was playing K9, I wasn't expecting Kewl, so he actually played really smart here, and Maxi is obviously always a problem card, so we are just going to admit our defeat and move to the next duel. So we are going first again, and when you look at our hand, it is much better than the previous match. When we look at our opponent's profile picture and other cosmetics, we can assume that he is playing K9. This information can be really helpful from time to time. Of course, he might be bluffing too, but if we guess correctly, we can play our cards differently to counter his interruptions. So I'm going to start playing with Miracle Ejector, and if something happens to her, we can just, play Fusion Destiny instead. Right now, my opponent activates Ash Blossom, and I let it resolve his Ash Blossom. Now, I'll explain why. If I play Called by the Grave and negate his Ash Blossom, that means the effect of Ash Blossom will be negated until the end of the next turn. If my opponent plays a search card and if I want to negate that card, even if I activate Ash Blossom, my card will be negated because of Called by the Grave. So that's why I decided not to negate it with Called by the Grave, and because I have an alternative play which is Fusion Destiny, I thought that I won't have any other issues against my opponent's interruptions. So I'm Fusion Summoning DPE to my field, and I'm going to bring back Malicious and Denier to my field from my graveyard so that we can link summon into Cross Crusader and make another hero search from our deck. These are the usual plays that you are already familiar with it. And so far, our opponent hasn't activated anything. I search for Vion because I haven't used my normal summon yet. First, I go for Infernal Devices so that I can search for Elemental Hero Neos from my deck. And then I'm going to use my normal summon and activate Vion's effect so that we can send Shadow Mist to the graveyard and make another search from our deck, which is going to be Duskrow. We can also search for Polymerization because we are going to need it for Fusion Summoning into Contrast Hero Chaos. Now I'm going to Spatial Summon Duskrow and search for Furnace. I'm going to activate Polymerization and Fusion Summon Contrast Hero Chaos, as I just said. Now we are going to set our Mass Change so that we can access to our Dark Low and pass our turn by setting Called by the Grave. And during the draw phase, I'm just going to Fusion Summon into Massacre Dark Low. Now let's see what our opponent is going to play. They activate Raigeki, but is it going to stop us? No, because we have an Omni Negate in our field, which is going to be Contrast Hero Chaos. and we easily negate the effect of Regeki, and after the negation, my opponent just decides to surrender. They have realized that it is really difficult for them to play under Floodgate effect of Darkglow. We also have a couple of more interruptions. As you can see, DPE can pop a card, Cult by the Grave can negate an effect, Ash Blossom can stop a search. And when we look at our opponent's deck, as you can see, they are playing Vanquish Soul K9. We were actually correct with our guess. Probably they bricked, and that's why they couldn't be able to summon anything to their field. Now this match is going to be our final match, and this match is a really interesting one because the deck that I'm going to face against is a deck that I don't know how to name it, and you will see what I'm talking about. So we have Stratos, Foolish Burial, and Equal in our hand, so that makes 3 combo starters. Forget about Denier and Draw Lockbird, we'll see if we can use this card for our benefit. So my opponent has 47 cards in their deck, which is interesting. I cannot see any clues when I look at my opponent's cosmetics or field. So I'm going to activate my Equal first and search for Miracle Ejector. So I decided to special summon Miracle Ejector to my field, and my opponent has chain with Rescue Ace Impulse. And he's going to resolve an effect, but before he resolves that effect, he chains with Hope Ear Squadron. So after I see this card, I immediately recognize that I'm playing against a deck which has turn 0 plays. That's how this deck functions. First, he's going to draw 2 cards and discard 1 card, and then because of this card's effect, he's going to special summon it and then immediately synchro summon a monster. After he summons Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, he can special summon another tuner monster from his graveyard, and then he can synchro summon one more time. So as you can see, even if it is my turn, it feels like it's his turn and he's going first. So he synchro summoned his Kewl 2 monster. Now this monster is kind of a problem for us because it has 2 important effects that disrupts our plays. One of them is the first effect. The levels of monsters your opponent controls are increased by 2. I mean, when we fusion summon, this effect is not that important, but when we decide to go for an Xyz summon, let's say into number 62 guys or Starliege, Photon Blaster again, unfortunately we won't be able to summon these guys. But the most important effect is the second effect, which lets him to special summon more monsters from either his graveyard or banishment, and he can use this effect twice per turn. So let's see what's gonna happen. I resolve and shuffle, and then I special summon Shadow Mist. So the reason why I special summon Shadow Mist instead of Stratos is because I wanna fusion summon into Darkglow immediately. Because I know that he will try to interrupt me more, even if it is my turn, and probably he's gonna send some cards to the graveyard so that he can get more benefit in the upcoming plays. So that's why I'm still holding my other combo starters in my hand and go for Masquerade Darkglow immediately. And the moment that I summon Darkglow, he activates the effect of a Bystial monster in his hand and banishes Shadow Mist. I mean, banishing Shadow Mist is not an issue, but the real issue is he also has Kewl Twin Clip in his hands. He goes for a Center Eye Master, and because he's special summoned this card, he makes a search first, and then he gets rid of both my Darkglow and his own master. So as you can see, that's why I wanted to bait my opponent with Darkglow so that I can continue with my other usual plays. We haven't used our normal summon yet, so that's why I normal summon Stratos and search for Duskcrow. I special summon Duskcrow to my field by banishing Darkglow and resolve his effect, but the moment that I resolve his effect, I realize something, which is both of my monsters are level 6 monsters. I totally forgot about that. So that's why I couldn't be able to Xyz summon into number 62 Geras. So maybe I should have searched another hero monster instead of Duskcrow. Maybe Visionary of Fairies could be useful. Again, this is one of my misplays that I did in this duel. Like, even if I know this effect, I just forget about it. So that's why I'm still trying to make other plays. I search for Polymerization and send Denier to the graveyard, and then I activate Foolish Burial and send Malicious to the graveyard. Now we have 2 Destiny Hero monsters in my graveyard, so that means I can special summon them. But unfortunately, my opponent plays another Bystial monster from his hand, which was kinda unexpected, and banishes my Malicious. Unfortunately, we still have Polymerization, so I activate Polymerization and Fusion Summon into Contrast Hero Chaos. Now at least we have an Omni Negate in our field, so that means we can stop our opponent's effects, right? So that's why I chain Contrast Hero Chaos effect with Kewl 2, and let's see how this chain resolves. Wait a second. What just happened? Why couldn't we able to negate Kewl 2's effect? When you look at her effect description, you don't see anything that prevents my Kewl's negation effect. So why it didn't work? Well, here's my second misplay. The moment my opponent used Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon as a Synchro Monster, the card literally says that for the rest of this turn, the monsters synchro summoned by this effect are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. So I totally forgot about this effect, and that's why I wasted my Omni Negate effect on something that is immune to any activated card effects this turn. And then he synchro summons into Baron, which is another monster that has a negation effect, and I special summon Furnace back to my field, but because my opponent has sent Drewsworm to the graveyard, he could be able to send Chaos to my graveyard easily with his own effect. Now my only option is going for Extra Hero Cross Crusader, be Control Denier in our graveyard so that I can special summon him, but unfortunately he negates with Baron's effect and I won't be able to do anything else from this moment. The only card that we have is Draw Lockbird. I resolve Unshuffle's effect and try to get a draw, which can maybe help for our case, but unfortunately we draw Aqua Dolphin and we cannot do anything about it. Now it's my opponent's turn and he is just searching for more Bystial cards. I activate Draw Lockbird, but it doesn't matter because my opponent has a negation and my opponent can special summon. He is just making his direct attacks and he wins this duel. Do you see how many misplays that I made? The first issue was, when I checked my opponent's field and cosmetics, I had no idea what my opponent was playing. The second issue is, the cards that he played to the field, it still didn't give me enough information about his deck. And the other issue is, I misplayed 2 times. So as you can see, I lost this duel, not because my opponent were lucky, but because I misplayed and had lack of experience against his deck. And I still don't know how to name this deck, honestly. Is it considered as a Kewl tune or is it a synchron deck? Like, how do you name this deck? I honestly have no idea. So that was all for today. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you guys next time.